Everybody. You know, I joked when I first came here 5 years ago that if it ain't raining, it ain't eggs and issues. I'm beginning to feel responsible for our weather, so until further notice, we're just going to postpone eggs and issues until we have a little dry spell. I'm kidding. We're coming, rain or shine. We appreciate the fact that all of you come out to learn more about our community, about opportunities for involvement and engagement for your business, and it just shows this community cares, and we understand that work has to get done, and the clock doesn't stop ticking just because the weather is inclement. So we certainly appreciate all of your attendance today. Jay mentioned all of our sponsors, Synovus and House and Healthcare help us put this series on for the entire year. Through their sponsorship, it has allowed us to grow this program from the 6 breakfasts we were hosting up until last year to now including a very important breakfast today on workforce development, as well as the addition of the 21st Century Partnership Breakfast in the fall. Simply put, we couldn't do all this without their support. It takes a lot of moving parts to put an event like this together every month for 8 months out of the year, and we just appreciate them so much. You know, there's been a lot in the media lately about the coronavirus and what impact that might have on business. The governor's office just confirmed a few days ago that we had, cases reported in Georgia. If you'll remember, those of you who were here, I wasn't here 10 years ago, but, it was SARS, back in the day, and the next breakfast up was House and Healthcare, and so they devoted that entire program to that. We're not flip-flopping our schedule, but we did want to offer an opportunity for the hospital to come and make some brief remarks for you as business and community leaders about what you should anticipate, and we're going to work with them on an ongoing communication campaign to keep you in the loop. So I would like to welcome now House and Healthcare CEO, Mr. Charles Briscoe. Y'all join me in welcoming him.
Good morning, and thank you, April, for the opportunity to say just a few words. I will be brief. Let me just say first and foremost that your local hospital, and I know I feel confident in speaking for the other health systems in Middle Georgia and around the state, that we are monitoring this coronavirus situation daily. We all have infection control specialists. We're blessed at House and Healthcare to have Mr. Tim Bennett, who's former Air Force, and has joined us been with us quite a few years now, but is really just a very well-trained individual that is tracking this daily for us. We're actually tracking on a patient-by-patient encounter basis, and that's what I want to share with you, is that we have begun to change our assessment, our intake. If some of you have been to our med stops or ER lately, we're starting to ask the key questions, and the key questions are, have you traveled to 4 certain countries in the past 2 weeks, and those are China, Japan, Italy, and Iran. You may have heard that or seen that in the media. And those are the 4 countries we're asking about. If you haven't been there in 14 days, or if you haven't been in close contact with someone who is a confirmed case of coronavirus, the good news is you're okay. This is getting a lot of national media attention, as you well know. It is a serious event. It is something we need to track and stay on top of. I don't want you walking out here today saying the CEO of the local hospital said don't worry about coronavirus. That's not the message at all. But if you haven't met those travel criteria or those close contact criteria, your biggest concern is going to be the flu, frankly. And if you hear nothing today from me, hear this, and it's basically what your mother told you growing up. Wash your hands every chance you get a chance to wash your hands, and keep your hands off your mouth and your nose and your eyes, and you'll be fine. So I would encourage us in Houston County, though, for the foreseeable future, let's kind of do away with handshakes, and let's go to the fist bump and the elbow bump, and just be smart about it. If you've been in a meeting like this and you've met a lot of dear friends and colleagues and shook hands and been in close contact, first chance you get, wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds. If you don't have that, find some hand sanitizer. It's got about 60% alcohol. You'll be fine. Okay, flu is what you need to worry about. I was personally on my back 2 weeks ago with the flu. Okay, so that is what we need to worry about. You've got something on your table that our team placed in front of you. It's just a little quiz to actually draw you back to our table back here in the back. We've got a couple of nurses from our Educare department that are here to answer any questions you may have specifically about your workforce, your workplace, what you can do to sort of address the coronavirus. But this is a little game. It's actually a little morbid. It's cause of death by calls, but my team was really reaching this morning, I guess. See if you can rank them, and then the answers are back at the back of the table, and Dr. Dan Stewart's here with us too to answer any questions you may have. So with that, that's all I just wanted to hit you with. You're okay? Just wash your hands and do the fist bump. Chest bump if you can. That'd be even greater if we just chest bump. Thank you again, April.
Thank you, Charles. So workforce development is the reason that we're all here today, and a handful of you were in this room yesterday where we hosted about 100 kids from some of our Houston County high schools to put them through an exercise called Reality Check. You've seen information, there's information in our Tuesday e-news about that. What an incredible experience. We are so thankful to have partnered with the Development Authority, with the Board of Education, with Central Georgia Tech and Houston Healthcare to host that event. In our schools, Robbins Financial Credit Union provided the curriculum and staff to make sure that our kids walked away knowing two things. One, financial literacy, and two, educational attainment are critical to living the quality of life that you want to live. They got firsthand experience at the real cost of having a child, other expenses that they're going to have as they become adults. And I just want to thank all of you who supported that first year. I will tell you, we are not done. This will be a long-standing partnership and something we hope to expand to every single 10th grader in this county through our partnership with the Board of Education. We are working diligently to figure out how to scale that. So more to come, but I want to put that on your radar, and Angie and I may talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. But I am particularly excited about this panel, certainly for our topic that we're going to be covering today, but I've had the opportunity to work with all three of these individuals in multiple capacities. I first met Becky because of her work with the technical college system. When I started at the Chamber in Milledgeville, Angie was running the Development Authority there, and their office was housed in our building, and her successor was Matt Pointer, who I shared an office with for 2.5 years there. So I know the level of commitment these three individuals have to their jobs, to ensuring that we have a quality workforce in our community and throughout this region. And I'm excited about what they're here to share today. We've got a quick video that's going to play while our panel comes to the stage. But as a reminder, today we have Angie Giesling, Becky Lee, and Matt Pointer here to talk all things workforce. So y'all take a look at the video. Panelists, if you'll join me.
Did you know that Metro drivers spend an average of 2 hours a day stuck in traffic? If you work an average work, that's 40 hours a month behind the wheel of your car. It's up to you to decide your best life. And in Central Georgia, the choices are yours. Do you want to design a life with a walk in a happening downtown where you can be at work in 15 minutes? What about easy access to festivals, concerts, restaurants, and a vibrant quality of life? Or an airport where you can connect to just about anywhere? It's also here in Central Georgia that you can develop your best life. Middle Georgia is the home to industry on the cutting edge of the 21st century, where the future is being decided every day by one of the most talented workforces found around the globe. This is your chance to develop a career and a community. Innovate your future at the cutting edge of technology and work, play, and thrive in a central location with a low cost of living, friendly residents, natural resources, big city appeal, and even some small town southern charm. It's here you will find yourself quickly established, appreciated, and living and driving your best life on and off the job. Don't get stuck behind your own steering wheel. Shift gears and accelerate to Central Georgia, the nexus of your best life. Decide, develop, design. Welcome to Central Georgia, the nexus of your best life.
Wow, Wow, that's pretty impressive. Also makes me miss Dr. Joe.
I know. Everybody
Shout
can
out
see
to
that
Dr.
voice.
Joe for, yes, for that voiceover. Well, welcome panel. Thank you guys so much for being here. Angie, I'm gonna let you, just kick things off, sharing with us today about the critical role that, the Development Authority plays in workforce development.
Well, first off, I want to recognize the partners that are here, because we do not do this alone. In fact, everybody in this room touches workforce, and it can ensure a successful workforce for our future. But very fortunate to have today Becky Lee with me, who's now with the Development Authority. We're going on about 2 years now. April's talked about her expertise. One thing she didn't mention is that she was with a very large aerospace manufacturer as head of their human resources. So she brings a wealth of knowledge to this. We recognized, all of us in economic development, just really a few years ago, that we had to add workforce as a component, as a position where we could afford to in our offices, because of what we were addressing with our prospects. If you go back, let's say 15 years ago, and I was making a presentation to a prospect, I really could talk about us being a hub for employment. I could talk about the unemployment rates of the communities around us, and that usually got us pretty far along. And now I have to actually try to prove to them that not only do we have the people here, but we've got the people at a skill level that can address their needs. Also very fortunate that we have our friend, somehow we all go back to Milledgeville in one way or another. And Matt Pointer and I have known each other for a long time. He also has been with the Savannah Economic Development Group, and now is working regionally. We've been very fortunate to have access to a grant through the High Demand Career Initiative and through our Middle Georgia Consortium, where we were able to hire somebody. You can appreciate that I have a part-time person that's really looking after this effort, but we've got a lot of communities that even the role that I play in this community is a volunteer role, or it's a part-time role. So to add on someone that can really address the needs that we're seeing, we needed somebody to be out there and an advocate on all 11 counties' behalf. And that's where Matt comes in, and he's gonna tell you about the great work that he's been doing now for many years. Are we on a year? No? I want to make it a year, but you've been doing many years of good work and working with workforce efforts. I have to talk about our partners that are here today, and I don't know if we got everybody grouped at the table, but we made an effort because I have so much fun working with these people, and it's been very rewarding. I mentioned the Middle Georgia Consortium plays a key role in workforce, and we've got their executive director, Daryl Stillings, and Ashley McIver. With the Department of Labor, we have Andrea Simmons. And with Robins Air Force Base, our new buddies on the scene, Cindy Aguilar and Tracy Brown. Central Georgia Tech also is a major partner in what we do. The Vector Center, of course, and bringing the veterans in is really giving us an edge when we're talking about workforce available in our area. Department of Economic Development, I think April's gonna touch on hiring our heroes, also new on the scene with us. Our Career Academy is where we are just making great strides. And absolutely the best president and CEO in the state is here today, Sabrina Phelps. Appreciate you so much and what you do. Jamie Cook, kind of new in with us with workforce, but a wealth of experience working with Robins Air Force Base and now with the 21st Century Partnership. And I have to talk about Houston Healthcare as well, because they signed on to an effort with us that Becky's going to touch on, but the meaningful results we're seeing where we're exposing hundreds of high school students to opportunities in healthcare is paying dividends. And their willingness to take in the apprentices and the folks that are shadowing is very generous. And we thank you for being a partner in this effort. I probably missed somebody, but again, you all play such a big role in this, especially our Board of Education and our school district. So you might wonder, why are we running point on this as the Development Authority? Because there are so many partners, and any one of these does lead the effort, can lead the effort, but it usually falls back on our office when we are talking to not just new companies that are looking at our area, but when we're looking at our existing industry, when they're talking to their corporate office about why they need to be the location where the next expansion occurs. So it becomes very important to us that we are at least all aware of all the efforts that are going on, and that we can express those, and that we can show how we set ourselves apart as a community in making this a priority. Also have to talk about why we do have, and I am able to have a number 2 person and a number 3 person, Amelia Spinks, on the staff, and that is absolutely the best development authority board I have worked with. And I appreciate all of you that are here today. Ben Holbert's our chairman. Scott Cox is our secretary treasurer. Neil Talton has been the chairman a very, very long time, on and off. Marion Fraley and Chris, really appreciate what y'all have brought to this board, because we really did not have an understanding of how we could effectively work with Robins Air Force Base and really understand how we could make some meaningful connections there. And so what y'all have brought to this board has been really invaluable. And now in the private sector, I keep thinking I'm gonna utilize a lot of their time, and people keep hiring them up in the private sector, but they've been quite an asset. When we look at this past year, there are probably a lot of announcements that have gone on that maybe have missed big press. And for us, our existing industry is the most important. We love recruiting. That's a lot of fun. We want to get the right companies in here to actually show a diversification, as we're charged to, from what goes on just within Robins Air Force Base, but also that complements the other industry that we have here. I always like to mention that between 75 and 80% of the jobs that are new in communities come from our existing companies. So this year, we've got one that has not announced yet, but we have 5 major expansions that have occurred in our existing industry in 1 year. That's impressive. I will tell you that 2 of those expansions we were competing against, in one incident, 5 other locations throughout their corporate environment, and the other one, 3 other locations. The one we were competing against 5 others, every one of their locations had space to do this $250 million expansion. We did not. We won it. The state helped us, and this will announce in the next couple of weeks. But it really speaks volumes for the workforce that's already here, and helps me to make the case that we can continue to hire. They will hire 120 new employees there. So in all of this, 5 expansions, $385 million will be invested, 615 jobs. There are 3 locations for this year. 2 are going to announce in the very near future. 1 this afternoon, actually. And those are going to bring another $275 million and 375 jobs. And these are all quality jobs. And then if you want to count that courageous campaign that General Kubinick launched a while back to hire 1,200 people in 12 months, which I think he did in 9 or 10 at the end of the day, then you can see the kind of impact that we're having here with our existing companies. So that brings about 2,190 new jobs just from those expansions in these pending locations. So I'm very, very proud to report that.
That's amazing. Sounds like y'all got a lot of time on your hands. Yes. Well, Becky, we're going to shift to you, and I want to ask, with workforce being such a critical issue for potential new companies as well as expanding industry, how do you think we stack up as Houston County?
Thank you, April. The good news is all economic development demographics are good for Houston County. Some of this information that I'm going to give you comes from the Georgia Department of Labor Area Labor Profile. And with the 2020 census, we'll see these numbers change. They'll probably go up dramatically. But the good news is they look pretty good right now. The Houston County population at 153,000, 58% population growth since the year 2000. and with that comes change and opportunities. 14th largest county out of 150 counties, 59 counties in Georgia. Well-educated community, award-winning K-12 educational system. And these are the demographics that site selection consultants look at before they ever come into our county to see it. And we show better in person than we do on paper, and we look pretty darn good on paper. Innovative colleges and research universities, one of the largest, if not the largest, technical colleges in the state, Central Georgia Technical College. The Vector Center, as they reskill and upskill military retirees and those that are exiting military and looking for private industry jobs. Entrepreneurship friendly, Jay? We certainly are. And hiring our heroes, that's an exciting untapped pool of labor, military spouses, empowering them and helping them break the barriers to be employed. A very highly skilled, highly qualified folks that are coming into our community. Work-life balance. We have been named the best place to raise a family. We've been named one of the top 100 places to do business. Livability.com, if you haven't been a part of that, you need to be, both digitally and in print. The video that you just saw, we want to attract young professionals to our area, and we want to keep them. Knowledge workers that could live anywhere they chose in the world. Then we need to market a sense of place, and we have a wonderful sense of place right here in Middle Georgia. And then if you look at the I-75 corridor, the proximity to Atlanta and the airport, the proximity to Savannah and Brunswick and the ports there. Largest military complex in the state, upward of 24,000 employees, if I'm not mistaken. So workforce, we have that. We have the talent. What we need to look at now is the skill. We don't have a talent gap, we have a skill gap. And we're working very, very hard on bridging that gap.
Very good. And Becky mentioned Livability. We are going to be closing out for this upcoming publication in the next week. So within the next week. So if you guys are interested in that or haven't heard from Will or from our office about that, please reach out to us. That's one of those opportunities, Becky, where we're able to partner with you guys in the chamber lead an effort to fill the gap on the national stage about how great a community we do have. Because we all know it here, or we wouldn't be here. We want to tell that to the world and make sure that we are managing the reputation of our community on a national scale to draw those highly skilled workers in. I know we always want to talk about unemployment numbers, and so this is a follow-up for whoever wants to take it. What does low unemployment mean for us?
We are enjoying the lowest unemployment rate in 2 centuries, no, 2 decades. Low unemployment as an economic indicator is good, unless there are not enough workers to fill existing and new company requirements. No aspect of site selection is more extensively studied than workforce availability. The key is increased industry and education communication. And if you haven't worked with Ms. Sabrina Phelps at the Houston County Career Academy, you've missed a wonderful treat. Anytime you call her with an idea, she's right into problem solving. Not only, yes, are we gonna do it, but how can we do it? And before you know it, you're right, April, our feet are off the ground and off we go. Although just recently, as we looked at drone maintenance, she reminded me that we better walk before we fly. Slow down just a little bit on that. The Development Authority has made good short-term progress in strengthening the already good communication between business and industry and our education partners. We formed about a year and a half ago a business and industry focus group, and we work closely on advanced manufacturing and high-end food processing. We get together 6 times a year and we look at critical issues that each of us are facing. We rotate locations, we take plant tours, and workforce is one of those critical factors. So, the news is good, the talent is good, and we'll talk a little bit later about how we're bridging some of those skill gaps.
Perfect, thank you, Becky. And Matt, you can have the mic now.
Yeah.
So I want to thank Matt for he had to get up especially early to get here this morning. He's only been late for one exit issues for me, and it wasn't today. So I want to thank him for making the extra effort to drive down, because as Angie mentioned, he represents and works in all 11 counties. So he's not based here in Houston County. But Matt, I'd love for you to just give us an idea about the region as we compare to others, and talk about the work that you're doing in all 11 counties.
Sure. Well, thank you all for having me. It's great to be in Houston County this morning. It's a pleasure to work with these two fine ladies. I respect them immensely, and learned a lot from them in the past working with them. So my role with the Middle Georgia Economic Alliance is to, in simplest terms, is to connect our industry partners to our education systems. Now let me say, in Houston County, that's not a problem. I mean, y'all have it going on. Other communities that I'm working with, you know, there are some challenges we're facing. So the goal is really to bridge that gap, because the industries don't know what's going on in the school system, and the school system does not know what's going on in the industry. And Candace and I have had about 40 meetings with businesses. I've told the story 40 times, I believe, but when I worked in Milledgeville, you probably had the same story. There's a chemical manufacturer called Zimmer & Schwartz. They make chemicals, they mix chemicals. But their plant, they've got these large plastic containers all around their plant. Everybody in Milledgeville thinks they make plastic containers. They don't know that they use those containers to mix the chemicals and ship them out. So again, what you don't know is what you don't know. So we've got to help connect the dots to make these companies understand, you know, what the school system is teaching, and let the school system understand what's going on in these industries. So with that, we've got 3 main goals we're focusing on right now with our advanced manufacturing companies. The first one was a workforce survey. So we went out across the 11 counties and interviewed 47 companies. Actually, we had our last 2 yesterday, and basically got a baseline of information on workforce-related matters. So again, trying to understand challenges, the good, the bad, the ugly, basically, of what's going on within these industries. With that data, we're actually meeting next week to kind of put our heads together and figure out a plan to move forward. We can't move forward without the education system. So we've been meeting also with, I've met personally with the 11 career academies in Middle Georgia to try to create that partnership. And I would tell y'all, again, going in, I was a little bit skeptical about what the feedback might be. But I'll tell you, every county in the region has been absolutely on board. They want to participate, they want to partner. And I will tell you too, when I worked in Macon and we talked about with our industry partners about partnering, they really didn't want to. When I was in Milledgeville, the same thing. Can we connect with the education system? There really wasn't a need. I say for the last 18, 24 months probably, there's a need. The unemployment rate being so low, there's got to be another way to find that pipeline for that talent. And so it's been exciting, really, to see the excitement from the companies and from the school system to want to partner. And so basically, I'm just trying to connect the dots and letting Angie and Miss Becky kind of run with it. So having the workforce surveys, like I said, we met with 47 companies in Middle Georgia. Those companies represent 13,000 employees. So we've met with the big companies, but we've also met with companies that employ 5 to 10 people. And I'll tell you, the issues facing the big companies are also facing the small companies. It's just, they're from a much larger scale they're dealing with. We learned about the skill gaps, recruitment issues, and again, we've had a good mix, a good diversity of those manufacturers we've been meeting with. A good thing to report is that of those companies, the next 5 years, there'll be 1,000 net new jobs created, and not, because of turnover or retirements, but net new positions created throughout Middle Georgia. And like I'm sure Angie has told y'all, when the company's looking at workforce, it's not just Houston County, it's not just Bibb County or Baldwin County. It's a 45-minute drive time. So while Houston is doing great, we got to make sure that our partners around us are doing great too, because some of that workforce is flowing into the community. So again, we've all got to work together to raise that bar. The second program we're working on is an externship program. Again, I know Houston and Bibb have been doing this for a while, but our other school systems really haven't been touching on that. So our goal was to have 15 externships this school year. And basically what we're doing is getting the teachers and the counselors from the school system into the businesses. I'm happy to report that we did not get 15, we got 31 companies that agreed to participate. Again, that's what I'm talking about, the excitement that we're seeing and the need to partner together has been great. And then finally too, work-based learning. Getting the students into the school, into the industries to learn at an earlier age, to get that experience, that job experience. Again, we really didn't set any type of goal for that, but based on those 47 companies, 25 advanced manufacturing companies in Middle Georgia have agreed to host students in a work-based learning experience. So I can't be more happy about this, because again, in my past, I've kind of hit a wall every time I tried to get this moving forward, and just within the last 6 months to see this groundswell excitement from the businesses and the school system has really been, it's beyond exciting for me. So, and I get excited about workforce. I know it's not really what y'all do. I mean, it's kind of an odd thing, but it's great, you know, because it's jobs. It's jobs for people. So, again, I'll say things are moving in the right direction. This isn't a sprint. This is a long-term play, though. I mean, this isn't going to change overnight. So we got to foster relationships. We got to build them up. And again, 3 to 5 years, we're hopefully going to start seeing the fruits of our labor now, and we already are, which is great. But I think to really see a full plan implemented, it's going to take a little bit of time. But I'll say that we're on the right track, and I'll say that Houston is definitely helping leading that charge for us.
Yeah, that's very exciting, and I know you talked about hitting a brick wall. Once you get that momentum, that's really the exciting piece, is because we know that once we get those students in there, once we get teachers in there, it's just going to have a trickle down effect and be a chain reaction for bigger and better things to come. So that's exciting to hear, Matt. So Angie, we're talking about some strategies, some strategic initiatives. What tools are you guys using to build the current workforce?
Many. Any and every. But the one that I'm most excited about, that I want to make sure you're all aware of, particularly if you've got a child that's in the Houston County school system, 8th to 12th grade, is called U-Science. It is an aptitude assessment that the State Board of Education, I think our very own Dr. Barbara Wall from here actually led this charge to purchase the license from this company and make it an offering to every high school in the state of Georgia in the public school system. But every high school does not have to incorporate this into their plan. There is another assessment tool that they've been using for years, so you can continue on with that one, or you can use this one. One thing that Matt has helped us with, because of course Houston County was one of the first out the gate. We've been given this test, I think going on 2-year assessment, assessment for a couple of years now. But one thing that Matt has done for us is we had probably 5 of the 11, if they weren't already given the assessment, they were about to give the assessment to their students. And we now have 10 of the 11 in just a few months. So it has not been a year. We're shaming them. We're shaming them. And that is so important, because this county depends on these other counties around us for workforce. And so we need everybody to be on board on this. So what does U-Science tell us? Okay, where it is very different and the actual science comes into it, is that it will measure a person's aptitude. It will also incorporate what is their interest level across 500 different careers. At the end of this, about an hour and a half sit down on this, and they break it up over a couple of days in the school system. But when you get to the end, it's going to take 500 careers. It's going to start and show you where you have a really high aptitude and also a very high interest in careers. And then it'll just kind of fold down from there. There, as you can imagine, there are going to be careers that come up that the student has no idea what it is. So there's an opportunity to click through, see what the career is. Well, how much school do I have to have? Click through one more time and find that out. Well, is there even a job anywhere around here? Click through and you can see from Houston County out for, I don't know how many states we go into, but you can see a pretty wide radius of where those job opportunities are. And then most importantly, how much am I gonna make? So every question that a student could have is all right there. Well, the other challenge, or probably concern that we've had, is we're very fortunate that we've got Sabrina Phelps and Dr. Scott and such a great school system that has gotten behind this. But are these students taking these assessments and then it's, okay, we're done? And nobody takes the time to really sit down, even though it's very self-explanatory, but does anybody really sit down helping that student decide, what could you do with this? How can we get you into this company, this manufacturing plant, and let you see what this job is all about? So this county has been very proactive in sitting down with us. We are looking at the students' results. I don't get to see the names, FYI. They're looking at what their results are, and let's say these high demand career jobs that we've got, like industrial maintenance and mechanics and nursing and software. Where are these students, and how can we get them out on field trips like we just took to Robins Air Force Base, where they saw everything from welding and maintenance to software. Same thing we did at Houston Healthcare. You're seeing every job opportunity there is there, from HVAC, engineering, EMS, to nursing. So there's exposure for all of them. I think this is exciting for the parents, and if you're a parent, you actually have the ability to go in and see this assessment. It's exciting in two ways. For one, you get to see, hopefully, kind of narrow down what is that degree gonna be if they're going on to college. Because we won't do hands up, but I doubt there are many of us in this room that are actually utilizing the degree that we left school with. Same thing for our kids, and so we pay too much tuition once they are in school. Also, it's helpful because if we have some of these jobs that we need to demystify, such as we did at Robins, we can actually show the parents what those jobs really are. So the plan is that we'll take these jobs that maybe there's some question, or we know there'll be a question from the parent about, is this gonna be the right career path? And we're gonna load them on buses, and we're gonna take them through our industry to let them see exactly what's behind the door. Because we don't just go knock on the door at Frito-Lay and ask to go in. I don't even do that. So I think that this is a real opportunity for people to kind of see what these real possibilities are. So if you can't tell, I'm really excited about youth science. Because I think, like I said, it's becoming more and more difficult for me to get in front of a prospect and prove to them that we've got these people here. Now, it's also been incorporated this year into our technical colleges across Georgia. It's also in our one-stop shops and available through the Department of Labor, where anyone that comes in as an adult and says, I really don't know what I want to do or who I want to be when I grow up, they can sit down and have this free of charge available to them.
That's amazing.
I'll keep on talking.
No, but it is, I mean, it's critically important, and the thing that I think is most impressive about this is that balance of aptitude and interest, because both you've got the opportunity to dismiss some things that students may have zero interest in that they do know about, but also increase that level of interest when they do show aptitude maybe for more technical jobs than they ever imagine themselves in. It's all about that opportunity for exposure, and I think that's something that you guys have leveraged in a really meaningful way. So we're gonna flip to Becky real quick, and I know you mentioned briefly about the relationship between industry and educators, but if you will, share with us how you all are strengthening that relationship, and what the authority's role is in all of that.
Super, thank you. Sit back, take a sip of coffee, and relax, because we're gonna be here just a little while. Not really. What we've learned is that career counseling has not kept up with the pace of change. And that's not simply our school system, it's all of our environment and everything that impacts a young person as they begin to think about a career. What you've heard today and what we started out with, and we hear it over and over, is we want to grow our own and we want to keep our own. Every job has worth and importance, but we are looking at the critical skills that we need, and right now we're focusing, a laser focus in on manufacturing. However, we are so excited about the partnership with Houston Healthcare. And what was the impact of that? A year and a half, almost 2 years ago, there were no Houston County Career Academy students apprenticing at the hospital. They had done that previously, but not recently. You heard Mr. Briscoe speak here a couple months ago, and it did my heart good when he gave his annual report and mentioned that one of the highlights last year was the partnership with the Houston County Career Academy. What that meant, though, was that he opened his hospital to, at that time, 18 apprentices, and this year, 30 apprentices. And what we're talking about is HVAC. It's really a city within a city when you look at the hospital. And we approached it, and by we, I mean collectively. If there's one thing or one adjective for Houston County, it is inclusive. It is inclusive. We embraced it, all of us, with an idea that Mrs. Phelps came back from the Atlanta area with demystifying healthcare careers. It's not all employees don't wear scrubs. And we kind of used that going through to the second year. Now we have a Da Vinci robot. There's a position called a perfusionist that maintains all that equipment that keeps us alive. And that pain pump, if you've had major surgery and you want to push that button, when the door opens or it's cold or it's hot. So food service and on and on and on. And we learned the IT. Just imagine the cybersecurity in a hospital system as you keep the confidentiality of the records. So full careers in all areas, and the way that we got the young people interested, and we're talking about 150 students at a time, 124 students at a time in half-day sessions, is number one, they got to see it, and number two, they got to hear and talk to the person doing the job. And the hospital even went a step further in that those individuals shared their career ladder. Now, when we went into the Sonny Watson, the beautiful health sciences building there, and you haven't been, please go. Kim, I see you in the group. One student, as they were dissecting a heart, said, "Time out, this is not for me." And that's what we want to do. We want there to be true career exploration and true hands-on site. Our newest partner, we've done our second summit, and Ms. Phelps will tell you, as we were planning the first one, I came back to Angie and said, "Angie, it's going to be complete chaos." We're talking about 150 students, color-coded, going all over, and all the planning in the world. It went off like clockwork. Mike O'Hara, when we did a lessons learned, said, "There's nothing I would change." And it was because of great planning and great communication. And then we went to Fly High with careers at Warner Robins Air Logistics Complex. They are specifically looking for robotic painters and welders and sheet metal mechanics and software technicians. And we had just, two in a row, the health one day and the base the next day. 124 students that went through 5 different work areas, from engineering to robotics to welding. And they ended up with a big pizza party afterwards, thanks to Cindy and the development authority, Angie. What does that mean for a student? Number one, we want them to think now about what their career might look like later. Number two, touch, feel, and see. And our industry has been very, very responsive. We've already got a date set for next year's seminar, and that's fantastic. The summit's set, and we're off and running. The hardest nut to crack, in my personal opinion, the hardest nut to crack now is going to be with parents. there is still a perception that manufacturing is hot and dirty and greasy. And that's no longer the fact with automation and very high technology. It's a clean environment. It's above average wages. It's great potential to grow within a company and go right up the ladder. And Matt, I know with our interviews, we heard several experiences where someone came in at the ground level and went straight on. Like I say, I could talk about it forever. There are great things going in and on in Houston County, and we want to continue those. But remember that our goal is to grow our own and keep our own, looking not only at current positions, but the hard part is future, because we don't really know quite yet what that future might look like, especially with technology. Whatever it is, we want to be there. We've got some great products already. Frito-Lay has an apprenticeship program. Students go through there, and at the end, they end up with an associate degree and an excellent job. One story was a young man who brought his paycheck home after he had gone up that ladder, and in 1 month, he alone made more than his parents together had ever made. And he's helping support that family. Inter4 in Perry has started an apprenticeship for their existing employees. They've retrofitted a classroom there. They are in for the long run, and they'll be journeyman mechanics. There are many good. We talked about the apprenticeship at the hospital. There are many good things going on in our area, but we've got a long way to go. What we are doing now is focusing on high demand skills and the gap with the talent, and we are scientifically herding those students with the aptitude and the interest into that area. The other thing that I've heard for the first time in my career, which was about a 38-year career, is that you all are having trouble finding middle managers. That was never, in my experience, that was never an issue. Middle managers now, well, why is that? Well, we have millennials managing baby boomers. Imagine how that's working out. So what we kind of drill down to is the communication. There's a lack of effective communication. And that was simple for me. As long as it wasn't unethical and it wasn't a safety issue, you did what the boss told you and you did it to the best of your ability. Well, that's no longer the case. And to get what you want, you have to give them what they need. So that's another thing we're going to look on. But we really want to attract the young professional, that middle management into our community. So if you're not, and I know you all are, you need to keep your finger on the pulse of the change that's happening in your county, because with that change comes multiple opportunities, and you know the definition of that is chaos, riding on a dangerous wind. So it's an exciting time, and we're ready, and we're going to be even more ready over the next couple of years.
Thank you, Becky. Lots of excitement going on. But we've just got a few minutes left, so if you guys, I've got 2 quick questions for Angie, but if you have questions and we have the time, if you will write those down and pass those, just raise your hand. The ladies in the back of the room will pick those up. If we run out of time, I know that if you'll write your name on there and maybe an email address, Angie can reach out to you to answer those individually after the program. But Angie, you know, I have to ask, what can the community leaders in this room today do to assist with all of these exciting efforts that y'all have spent the last little while talking about?
One thing we have not touched on is our speakers bureau that we're forming, and a lot of this comes from our industry, but it could be all of you in this room that could have such influence in our school system. And as Matt talked about, the doors are open. They're waiting on you to come in. Open your doors and allow the teachers and the counselors to come in and do externships with you. They're better teachers if they can, and advisors if they can go back and actually firsthand tell a student what a job is really all about. And I always ask people, be aware of what we're doing, in economic development. Ask us questions about what we're doing, because you are our sales force. You're gonna come into contact with people that we want to stay here and work here and enjoy living here. And hopefully you don't have bad stories to tell. Hopefully they're all good stories. But I ask you to share that, because that helps all of us, and it makes all of us belong and be a part of this effort that we have.
Perfect. I know we've talked about a lot of, current initiatives, that are going on, and Becky, you just alluded to, the future. How are you, positioning the Development Authority to respond to those needs of industry going forward?
The most exciting one, and I alluded to an announcement that'll occur this afternoon, is looking at jobs of the future and an understanding that software plays some role in all these jobs of the future. We've had a regional effort that I've talked about before that many people in this room have been a part of. We're gonna pick up on that planning effort again. But what it allowed us to see was that we have such a great influence from our universities and our technical college and our high schools here in this region, and how they all are doing innovation in some way or another, and such a focus on technology, and such cutting edge efforts that are going on. And we've managed to get these people around a table and talking to each other and figuring out how their efforts complement each other. Looking further down to say, how can we better prepare from the high school going forward to make sure that everyone is on the right career path? Understanding, instead of just predicting or guessing, what does the employer need? What do they see as their jobs of the future? And being able to respond to that. So our announcement this afternoon will center around the theme of software and bringing new jobs into our community. We've had a lot of really nice announcements if you've been paying attention. And this regional planning effort, everybody's been involved in the effort. I'd love to think that it had some influence on some things that are occurring once we could all celebrate what our strengths are in our universities. But there was the first out of the gate was to announce in Robbins North with Central Georgia Technical College, providing a space for Robbins Air Force Base to work, to have training going on side by side, and get people out of hangars and put airplanes in hangars. First huge success that we have with a partnership with education. We also then had Middle Georgia State University to establish a wing on their Warner Robins campus for innovation, and allowing private industry to come in and also make a pitch, tell what their software issues were. And then most recently, Mercer University announced in downtown Macon, Blue Sky, which will have Robbins software workers working side by side with those engineers. And today, this was the one I'm most proud of, because this one involves our school system and shows the commitment that we all have to one another and have to Robbins Air Force Base and to our students to make sure that they've got the best jobs available to them going out the gate. So I don't want to steal a lot of thunder from that, but please pay attention to what comes out of that effort this afternoon.
Yeah, watch the news tonight.
Yeah.
All right, if there are no questions, I want you to join me in thanking our panel. If you do have a question, a few announcements before we leave, because we do have a couple of minutes now. Any questions? I don't see any. Y'all did a great job covering all of the topics, and Angie and Becky and Matt will all be here after the program to answer any individual questions that you may have. In the room, we have, as Charles mentioned earlier, educators in the back of the room if you took the little quiz or not and would like more information about how you and your business can prepare for the coronavirus and any potential exposure. Please go back and utilize that resource. You will also notice some other familiar faces in the back of the room. Gary Hart and Deborah Cox are back there. Give them a little wave, everybody. They are representing Hiring Our Heroes. Becky spoke briefly about this effort, and there's some information on your tables. There's been information on the slides, and then in your inboxes, you'll actually get an email in about 30 minutes from us with a reminder about State of the Base, mentioning this event coming up as well. On Monday, March the 16th, we will host the Hiring Our Heroes group in our Middle Georgia, what's it called, Gary?
Military.
Empowerment Zone.
There we go. Military Spouse Economic Empowerment Zone, also known as MZES. We will be hosting a Biscuits with Breakfast event, a Biscuits with Business event, there it is on the screen, on Monday, March the 16th, 7:45 at the Chamber. This is a free event for you to come. We do ask that you go on our website and register. Our goal for this meeting is simply to, much like they were talking about with healthcare, to demystify the hiring of military spouses. You know, in one breath, we'll hear industry say, you know, that we haven't hired military spouses because they're only here for 2 or 3 years. Then you'll turn around, you know, a week later, and my greatest challenge is to keep somebody longer than 12 months. We've got a disconnect there, and not only will they be here guaranteed for 2 to 3 years, sometimes more, they also bring that same level of commitment that the military member themselves bring. They bring a host of resources. They also bring a pipeline behind them of military spouses who can fill those jobs into the future. So if there's opportunities within your organization now or in the future for hiring in any field, I encourage you to come by, have a biscuit with us, learn more. We're going to have some great information available. We're going to have some testimonies from military spouses talking about their experience and the difficulties and really unnecessary challenges and barriers that they have to employment. So you're not going to want to miss that. Stay to the base, y'all. It's right around the corner. I mean, I couldn't time this any better, I promise. On March the 19th, in the Century of Flight hangar at our beautiful Museum of Aviation, we are expecting record attendance. We are very excited to hear from the leadership at Robins Air Force Base about their progress and partnership opportunities with our community, and as everybody wants to hear that economic impact number and what all that means, not only to Middle Georgia, but to our state, our nation, and the warfighter. So we encourage you to go ahead and sign up for that event, and we are really excited for all that is to come. And I really was just kidding about the rain and postponing Eggs and Issues. In fact, the next Eggs and Issues will be a birthday present to me and an opportunity to sit down with Mayor Randy Toms and talk about the city of Warner Robins. That's April the 16th. And we're going to be excited to meet you all right back here. Randy, that is my birthday. Be nice. Be nice. But guys, thank you so much for coming today. We are excited, as always, as a chamber, to be a resource for you guys, for access to information, and we want to continue that. If there are opportunities that you see or that your company is experiencing, please reach out to us, reach out to the Development Authority. We are here to help. That's what we do. We can't anticipate your problems, but we can certainly help to find partnerships and solutions to them. And also, if you've got good news, if you are hiring and you've got jobs to post, you can post those for free on our website. If you've just hired somebody or brought somebody back to town that I've seen in the corner of the room today, tell us. We want to share your news. Every Tuesday, that newsletter goes out full of great news from our members, their growth, them sponsoring, 5Ks or baseball teams or whatever it is, giving back to make the experience in this community rich and meaningful. Y'all, it's a great day. I'm hopeful that the clouds have parted outside, but go out and make it a great day. Watch the news tonight for some exciting news for Houston County and our region. We'll see you next time.